My mother-in-law smirked over tea and said, "Since you married my son, half your salary belongs to me now." When I left, she pulled out a fake contract and sneered, "Sign this, or I'll make his life miserable." I picked up a pen, smiled, and said, "Great. But first, let's read the surprise clause 1 added just for you." When I married David, I knew I was joining a family with deep roots in Savannah, Georgia. David's mother, Margaret, was well known in the community, especially in the historic district where she resided in a grand antebellum home. Her house, a classic example of Greek Revival architecture, stood proudly among Savannah's famous squares, reflecting the city's rich history. Margaret had a commanding presence, and her influence was evident in every family gathering. She was involved in various social events and was a regular at local establishments like Brochu's Family Tradition, a popular spot known for its Southern cuisine. Her opinions were often voiced with authority, and it was clear she expected them to be heeded. David and I had a whirlwind romance. He was a software engineer, and I worked as a marketing manager. Our careers were stable, and we shared dreams of building a future together. After a year of dating, we decided to marry. Our wedding was held at the historic Green Meldrum House, a stunning Gothic Revival mansion that once served as General Sherman's headquarters during the Civil War. Margaret was deeply involved in the planning, often offering unsolicited advice and sometimes overriding my decisions. I attributed her behavior to her excitement and desire to ensure everything was perfect. After our honeymoon, David and I settled into our new life. We purchased a charming bungalow on Jones Street, often referred to as the most beautiful street in North America, for its picturesque antebellum homes and oak-lined avenues. The house needed some work, but we were eager to make it our own. Margaret would drop by unannounced, often with suggestions on how to decorate or renovate. While her intrusions were sometimes overwhelming, I appreciated her desire to be involved. One Sunday afternoon, Margaret invited me over for tea. David had some errands to run, so I went alone. Her home was an elegant antebellum house filled with antiques and family heirlooms. We sat in the sunroom, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over the room. Margaret poured the tea, her eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "Now that you're part of the family," she began, stirring her tea leisurely, "there's a small matter we need to discuss." I looked at her, puzzled. "Of course, Margaret. What's on your mind?" She set her cup down and leaned slightly forward. "Since you've married my son, it's only fair that half of your salary contributes to the family fund." I blinked, unsure if I had heard her correctly. "Excuse me?" She smiled, a calculated expression that didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's a tradition in our family. All the women contribute a portion of their earnings. It's how we maintain our family's legacy and ensure everyone's well-being." I couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle, thinking she was joking. But her expression remained unwavering. "Margaret, I respect family traditions, but David and I have our own financial plans. We've just bought a house and are budgeting carefully." Her smile tightened. She reached beside her and produced a document, placing it on the table between us. "I anticipated your hesitation, so I took the liberty of drafting a simple contract. It outlines your commitment to the family fund. All you need to do is sign." I picked up the document, scanning its contents. It was a straightforward agreement stating that I would allocate 50% of my monthly income to a bank account managed by Margaret. I set it back down, meeting her gaze. "Margaret, this is unprecedented. David never mentioned anything about this." She sighed, feigning disappointment. "David is a wonderful son, but sometimes he doesn't grasp the importance of these matters. I'm merely ensuring that our family's future remains secure." I took a deep breath, trying to remain composed. "I appreciate your concern, but financial decisions between David and me are private. We manage our finances together." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "I was hoping you'd be more understanding. Refusing to sign could make things complicated. I wouldn't want any strain on your relationship with David." I realized then that this was a power play, an attempt to assert control. I decided to stand my ground. "Margaret, I need to discuss this with David. We make decisions as a team." She leaned back, her smile returning. "Of course, dear. Take your time. But remember, family comes first. That evening, I recounted the conversation to David. He was visibly upset. I can't believe she did that. There's no such family fund. She's overstepping. We decided to confront Margaret together. The next day, we visited her. David spoke firmly, expressing our joint decision to handle our finances independently. Margaret listened quietly, then nodded. I understand, she said softly. I only wanted what's best for the family. Despite her acquiescence, I sensed underlying tension. Margaret's influence was deeply rooted, and challenging her wishes was not taken lightly. Over the following weeks, subtle shifts occurred. Family invitations became less frequent, and there was a palpable distance during gatherings. One afternoon, I received a call from a colleague. She informed me that a rumor was circulating at work about my alleged financial irresponsibility. Shocked, I pressed for details and discovered that Margaret had been speaking to mutual acquaintances, subtly implying that David and I were struggling financially because of my mismanagement. Furious, I confronted Margaret. Why are you spreading false rumors about me? She remained composed. I'm concerned about my son's well-being. If you won't contribute to the family fund, I need to ensure he's protected. I left her house with my hands shaking. David tried to calm me down, but even he looked rattled. He knew his mother could be overbearing, but this was new territory. Lying to people at my workplace? Making me look bad professionally? That wasn't just pushy. That was war. I told my manager what was going on in case more rumors popped up. Luckily, she was supportive. She said she'd keep an eye on things, but advised me to be careful. When family gets involved with work, it's a mess, she said. And she was right. Things at home didn't get better. David backed me, but I could see how torn he was. Margaret had a tight grip on him emotionally. She was the kind of mother who cried when things didn't go her way, made him feel guilty, told stories about how much she sacrificed. He was starting to crack. Then came Thanksgiving. We went to her house because we were still trying to keep some kind of peace. The table was set like a photo shoot, crystal glasses, gold-rimmed plates, the whole thing. Family was gathered. There were cousins, uncles, her church friends, even a few people I didn't recognize. Margaret loved an audience. She stood to make a toast and smiled right at me. I'm thankful for my son, she said, voice syrupy. He's always been loyal. And for our family traditions that go back generations. Some people marry in and forget their place. But we don't. There were a few awkward laughs. David stared at his plate. I just stared at her. She was doing it in front of everyone now. After dinner, she pulled me aside in the hallway. I gave you a chance, she said, cold. You chose to ignore tradition. That's fine. But don't think there aren't consequences. I didn't respond. I just looked at her. Something clicked in my head. She wanted a fight? She was going to get one. That night, I started digging. I didn't want revenge. I wanted protection. I started collecting everything. Notes about our conversations. Screenshots of text messages. I even talked to some of the other women in David's family, his cousin, his sister-in-law. Quietly, they told me the same thing. Margaret had done this before. She had demanded family contributions from other women who married in. When one didn't pay, she made her life hell, spread rumors, interfered with her kids' school, even called her boss pretending to be a concerned friend. Another woman had divorced David's cousin and left town. She never spoke to anyone again. That's when I realized Margaret wasn't just difficult. She was dangerous. So I made a plan. I got a lawyer. Not for divorce, not yet. But to draw up my own contract. A legal document about what would happen if Margaret tried anything else. It wasn't enforceable in court, but it was symbolic and detailed. And then I printed 2 copies. One I kept. The other, I brought with me to Sunday tea the next week. This time, I invited her over. I served the tea. I poured it slow, smiled the whole time. Then I placed the paper in front of her. What's this? She asked, narrowing her eyes. Oh, I said, I thought since we're doing contracts now, you'd like to read mine. She looked it over, eyes scanning fast. Her lips went thin as thread. "You're threatening me," she said. "No," I said calmly. "I'm protecting myself. From now on, every word you say about me, every lie, every phone call, every visit to my workplace, goes on record. And if you keep trying to make David choose between us, I'll make sure everyone knows how you treat the women in this family." She stood up so fast she knocked the tea over. "You think you can outsmart me?" she hissed. I stood too. "I don't have to outsmart you. I just have to be done with playing nice." She stormed out. David was proud. At first. But things didn't calm down. She doubled down. She called his work. Told them he was having a mental breakdown and should take leave. Then she called my sister. Told her David and I were separating. We weren't. But she was planting seeds. And some of them started to grow. Friends started pulling away. David's coworkers started acting weird. Then one day, I got a call from HR. They had received an anonymous complaint about me misusing company funds. I nearly vomited. I had to go into a formal review. It turned out to be nothing, completely fake, but the stress almost broke me. David was furious. He yelled at his mother over the phone. She cried, of course. Said I was turning him against her. Said she'd never survive if he left her. He didn't. Not really. He just pulled back. Stopped answering her calls, but didn't block her. Stopped visiting, but wouldn't say we were cutting ties. He was scared. She was breaking him down, just slower than she was breaking me. So I started keeping a journal. Every day. Every call, every message, every weird coincidence. I printed emails. I installed cameras at the house. I got security software on my devices. I started prepping like I was under siege. Because I was. One night, a rock hit our window. David and I ran out. Nothing. No one. But when we came back inside, a letter was on the porch. Folded neatly. In it was a copy of the contract she'd given me weeks ago. With a note scrawled across it, "You should have signed." David locked the door behind him, sat down, and put his face in his hands. "I think my mom is losing it," he said. I didn't disagree. But I also knew something else. She hadn't lost anything. She knew exactly what she was doing. 2 weeks later, David's aunt from Charleston came to visit. She was one of the few people in the family I actually liked, sharp, observant, and not under Margaret's thumb. We had dinner together at our house. I made lasagna, we drank wine, and halfway through the meal, she leaned in across the table and said something that made my stomach drop. "You know she has a power of attorney document, right?" I blinked. "Who?" "Margaret. She showed it to me last year. Said David signed it back when he was in college." I looked at David. He looked confused, then pale. "I've never signed anything like that," he said. His aunt shrugged. "Then you better find out what the hell it is, because she acts like she has legal rights over his personal decisions." That night, David tore his childhood bedroom apart looking for clues. Old file boxes, bank papers, college mail. Nothing. But the thought stuck with me. And it fit. Margaret always talked like she owned him. Maybe she thought she actually did. I called our lawyer. He helped us pull David's credit reports, his legal history, any document where someone else's name appeared with his. And there it was. A durable power of attorney signed in 2012. Filed in Chatham County. The signature looked like David's, but off. Like someone had copied it. Margaret had faked it. We froze. She hadn't used it for anything, not yet. But she could. If we didn't act, she could legally access accounts. Make decisions for him if he was incapacitated. Even sell property in his name under certain conditions. Our lawyer helped us revoke it immediately. We filed fraud claims. Sent her a cease and desist letter. And then we waited. Days passed. Nothing. Then David got a call. His cousin, another one Margaret didn't like, had been hospitalized after a fall. Only she didn't fall. She had driven her car into a ditch in the rain. Her brakes had failed. She was okay. Bruised, shaken. The cousin mentioned something strange. The week before, she'd gotten her car back from Margaret's mechanic. The same one Margaret always recommended. I'm not saying she tampered with the brakes, but I am saying Margaret knew exactly how to make people scared. David was rattled. What if she really is dangerous? He asked me. Not just emotionally. What if she could hurt someone? I didn't answer. I just handed him my laptop. I had compiled everything. Dates, names, screenshots. Even voice memos when I could get them. I had turned it all into a file. A file I sent anonymously to 3 people, a reporter from a local news blog, an old friend who worked in state legal services, and a private investigator who used to be a cop. The PI called me first. You're dealing with a textbook manipulator, he said. I've seen this kind of behavior before. It's not just toxic, it's strategic. She isolates, she controls, she intimidates. She builds a world where she's the victim, and everyone else is either a threat or a tool. I asked if there was anything we could do to stop her. He paused. You ever heard of Adult Protective Services? He wasn't joking. That's when it clicked. Margaret wasn't just out of control. She was building a kingdom of fear, and David and I were the last holdouts. And then came the final twist. A letter arrived from a law firm, addressed to David. Inside? A petition to contest his revocation of the power of attorney. Margaret had filed to challenge it, claiming David wasn't in his right mind when he revoked it. That I was manipulating him. That I was financially abusing him. She wanted him declared incompetent. That's when David broke. He didn't sleep. He barely ate. He started seeing a therapist because he was having panic attacks. One night he sat on the bathroom floor, shaking, and said, "What if she ruins me? What if this all blows up my life?" I sat down next to him, held his hand, and said, "We let her think she's winning." And then we cut the strings. We went quiet after that. No more calls to her. No more arguments. No more social media posts. We went ghost. Because now it wasn't just a power struggle. Now it was chess. And I was done playing defense. A month passed. Margaret didn't hear from us, not a single word. We didn't go to family dinners. We didn't reply to texts. David blocked her number. I got a new one. She kept sending letters, but we didn't open them. I kept them all in a box labeled, just in case. Behind the silence, we were working. David's therapist was writing up a statement for court, verifying his mental health was solid. Our lawyer was building a counterpetition. The private investigator I hired was tracking everything Margaret did, every public appearance, every piece of mail, every shady contact. We didn't fight her anymore. We documented her. Then came the hearing. Margaret had filed to be reinstated as David's power of attorney. Her argument: I had brainwashed him. That I was mentally abusing him, isolating him, stealing from him. She even brought witnesses. Fake ones. A neighbor who said David looked confused recently. A church friend who claimed I never let Margaret see her son. The judge listened. Then it was our turn. Our lawyer brought out the records. Emails, texts, call logs, character statements, audio recordings, screenshots from coworkers she had contacted behind our backs. Evidence of the forged power of attorney. A forensic expert who said the signature was a copy-paste forgery from a college application David submitted 10 years ago. The court went silent. Then I spoke. I told the judge everything. Calm. Clear. Step by step. I said I had made a mistake, thinking I could marry someone without fully understanding the family I was walking into. That I thought being kind would be enough to win peace. I said I learned the hard way that sometimes you can't fix people who enjoy hurting others. And sometimes, trying to fix them just makes you bleed longer. David looked at me like he'd never seen me before. And maybe he hadn't. Because I wasn't the girl who tried to keep peace anymore. I was the woman who set fire to the whole game board. The judge ruled in our favor. She called Margaret's actions calculated, deceptive, and emotionally abusive. The power of attorney was permanently revoked. A restraining order was filed. Margaret was banned from contacting either of us. If she tried again, she'd face criminal charges. But that wasn't the end. Margaret's reputation was built on control. Being the perfect Southern matriarch. High society, clean image. So I sent the full PI report to her country club board. I sent it to the local newspaper. I sent it to her church. Every lie, every scheme, every forged paper, every harassment. Her world shattered in a week. She was kicked off every committee. Her church asked her to take a break. Her charity work dried up. The woman who built her life on appearances lost the one thing she worshipped more than control. Her image. We didn't celebrate. Not really. David went through a long stretch of silence after that. He was mourning something, the illusion of a mother he thought he had. I gave him space. We took a break from everything. No family, no social circles. Just quiet. We moved a few months later. Changed jobs. Changed cities. One day, I got an email from a burner address. No name. Just 2 lines. You win. But he'll always be mine. I closed it and deleted it. That was the last time we ever heard from her. I still think about it sometimes. How close I came to signing that paper. How close she came to owning half of me. But here's what no one tells you. Monsters don't always wear claws. Sometimes they wear pearls and pour your tea. And sometimes, to survive them, you have to stop pretending they're family. You have to become something scarier than them. You have to become the truth.